Hey everybody, Melly here. Long time no see, long time no really much of anything. I apologize for the long distance of or long time since my last live stream and video in this series, but life kind of got a little nuts after the last live stream, and I just want to give updates on how things are going, where things are at, as well as let me grab as well as give you guys an idea of what topics to expect going forward. So since the last one, last we spoke, me and my now former partner and former roommate were exploring other living arrangements for where we were going to be staying, just because the environment where we were was not healthy. More so in terms of the dynamic of the family we were living with. The dynamic between them was not healthy, and therefore it impacted our enjoyment and our own lives, on top of trying to deal with a lot of stuff on our own plates. So we were exploring leads last live stream / episode. Since then, not long after that, we were able to find another spot that had originally been turned down, but I followed up with the person a few weeks later, and turned out that the original people that they were going to be taking on as roommates did not pan out and did not work out. So they gave us the opportunity. Of course, we took it because we wanted to get into what was hopefully a more appropriate environment, which actually worked out. And we were there for, I believe, just over a year. In that time, our relationship completely dissolved for a wide range of reasons that I could probably go into in a future episode. There was just a lot of stuff on both of our ends that just kind of culminated. And my now ex-partner was the one that broke off the relationship. And that made, staying in the same environment as them and staying in the same spot as them a little bit more awkward than would have otherwise. We weren't the greatest of roommates either at times. It impacted our friendship as well. And through all that time, I still tried to plug away at getting us housed. But after the relationship broke down and after the relationship ended, I just decided that, we both kind of decided that it probably wouldn't be a good idea if we were to be housed together once that did happen. And so this was in 2024. And I just kept plugging away, trying to get housed, trying to get some sort of thing going for myself. I'll go into it in a different episode. I don't want to turn this into a super long video, but it's been a time. But all the things that have happened since then, in January, my cat, who I've mentioned and referenced in many of my videos and is still immortalized in my YouTube channel, through various videos. She crossed the Rainbow Bridge. Her health deteriorated quite quickly in January. She was older. She was about 15, so she was an older cat. So it was probably not how I wanted to start the new year off. But it certainly impacted me. It really knocked me completely off kilter. I mean, I'd had her for 15 years since she was a kitten, so of course, you know, I miss her every day. And I will continue going forward to try and find a way to honor her in several ways at every opportunity and at every chance I can get. But she crossed the Rainbow Bridge in January. And after that, I kind of went into a deep depression. I was still trying to reel from the after effects of the relationship ending between my now ex-partner and I. And I wasn't in the space where I could actually process and deal with it properly. So I was already, you know, having that on my brain and on my plate. And then to have my one source of stability, which was my cat, to lose her, just completely derailed me for a good amount of time. And it really impacted my ability to, you know, be as on top of things as I would have otherwise been. But somehow in the span of the time since the last live stream, I've managed to get my Ontario Secondary School diploma in June of 2024 through Weeble. So I will always appreciate the patience and the accommodations of my teachers of my online courses. I should really email one of them because they're probably wondering what's been going on. Yeah, so come January after Fudge passed away, things just, as if things weren't already starting to fall apart, they just completely fell apart. I still struggle at times with the fact that she's not here anymore. But I did my best to try and keep going and tried to keep plugging away as best as I can when I could, when I had the mental capacity to. I, you know, didn't really expect anything to come in terms of like housing because I had tried everything I could. I had done everything I could. I had, you know, tried to push and push and push, and I was a thorn in people's sides because I was just so wanting to get housed so that not only could I be in my own space in my own place again, but also to be able to, you know, get on with my life rather than having my life be, you know, in limbo 24/7 because of being in a precarious housing situation. So fast forward to May of this year, I actually missed a phone call from Stratford Housing because I had slept in because my sleep schedule was just, yeah. I had missed a call from them, and instantly I was like, okay, well, it's May, you know, it's annual review time for, you know, applications or people that are on the housing wait list. So I was like, okay, they're probably just calling me to remind me, hey, you know, annual review time, blah, 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 blah. And my phone has this awesome function where like it sends your voicemails through text. So you can actually listen to your voicemail without having to call your voicemail. Love that feature. I really do. It's a great feature. And so I listened to the voicemail and I was like, oh, it's probably them just saying, hey, it's annual review time. Didn't think anything of it. So I'm listening to the voicemail and I hear, we have a possible offer of housing for you. And I nearly dropped my phone. And of course, I got an email from them as well with the same message. That was a very, very long day. It was a bittersweet day, but it was a very long day. Of course, immediately I called them back because I'm like, okay, here's an opportunity. Let's get it done. So I immediately called them back and emailed them back and communicated with them back and forth for a little bit. And of course, with everything that had gone down with LMCH previous year, which I will get into in another video because that deserves its own video by itself. But I wasn't getting my hopes up. I was just, taking it as, okay, this is an opportunity. I'm going to, pursue it. And so I got a hold of them and everything, got ironed out. Of course, they still needed my annual review stuff, so I sent it off to them. So it was technically still annual review time. But of course, I had to let my now ex-partner know, and my roommates know that we were staying with, who were so awesome. I miss them so much. I'm probably going to send at least one of them like a Christmas card. Though I probably have to hand deliver it since Canada Post is on strike again. So I might take a trip into London at some point just to do that. So I got everything sorted, and then it was just a matter of initially they wanted me to move in June, for June 1st. And I'm like, no, I would love to be able to do that, but there's a few things that are preventing me from doing that. One, I need to give more than 30 days notice so that I can get everything rolling, and I also have to make sure that I can arrange for because I still had my stuff, because when I left Roy in 2021, I had stuff at 2 different friends' houses. At one point, I had stuff at 3 different friends' houses, but I'd managed in that time to get it down to 2. And I had downsized a little bit already, just because I was living in one room with my now ex-partner. So it didn't really allow for a lot of stuff to be out and whatever. And plus, it was just wanted to try and limit. But so I immediately just down, like, I literally just moved what was at my second friend's place to my other friend's place, because that's where I wanted all my stuff in one spot. So when I went to move, it was all in one spot. So it was so much easier. So May was basically just downsizing, donating a bunch of stuff, like, because there was a lot of clothes that I had that I didn't wear anymore. Like, I probably gave away a few like giant black garbage bags full of clothes. And those were donated to either friends of the people I was friends of the friends I was throwing my stuff at, or just charities, organizations, etc. Because I take good care of my clothes, so they were pretty good condition clothes. Of course, I went through all the clothes, so anything that was like really tatted or like really ratty and wasn't really in the best condition, I just tossed. But yeah, I downsized a bunch of clothes. I still have a ridiculous amount of clothes. I'll probably downsize some of that stuff too. But so So yeah, the whole month of May was just downsizing, trying to transfer everything over to a different county because I was going from London to basically what is Stratford, even though the housing unit is in Mitchell itself. A lot of the services that I would need are out of Stratford, so I had to transfer from like Middlesex County to Perth County. So like that transition. So that, I'm glad I gave myself some extra time. So I instead of June 1st, I was like, why don't we do July 1st? And then I realized that, oh no, I can't do that because July 1st is a holiday. Canada Day. So I was like, okay, let's try the weekend before, like the Friday before, so that I could have the weekend to just kind of chill. And then I had set up my internet to get installed on the 28th. Yeah, 28th or 27th, 30th. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to rewind my timeline here. But so all of May was just trying to get everything sorted, getting everything sorted with the roommate situation, trying to get everything sorted with like a wide range of things. Still managed to find time to like appear at City Hall a couple times. The ongoing joke was because I was sporadic at showing up in the gallery at London City Hall. So, but it seemed like every meeting I was able to show up to turned into a marathon meeting. So, a few of my friends jokingly blamed me for the marathon meetings because it's the only meetings I show up for that I turn into marathons. The other ones go nice and quick. But yeah, so that was pretty much done. Come June, I had to start arranging for the U-Haul. Since I don't drive, I had to find a friend that drove. So I was able to get that sorted. And then basically just get everything like downsize some more, get things like really packed, really, ready to go so that literally it would take under half an hour to like load the U-Haul, and took about an hour in reality, but we did what we could. I also had to work around a few things. I had to still go to Stratford to fill out paperwork and get the keys so I could actually get into the place here. So that's why I wanted the Friday before, because then everything's open. Everything's like, it was a little bit of a logistical nightmare, but I sorted it out. So anyways, tried to keep in touch with, what was going on in London. It's trying to get ready to move. 27th came and went, moved. Everything was cool. Everything went way smoother than I was probably expecting, because I tend to like overanalyze things, and I over prepare for things. I prepare for like best, worst, whatever case scenario could possibly happen. I plan for every possible scenario. I plan for, okay, if there's like, power outage for some odd reason, or any kind of scenario that you could possibly plan for moving day, I planned for. So thankfully it went pretty much smoothly. Managed to fit everything in one U-Haul truck, which was my initial plan, and it worked. And it wasn't even like a big van. It was literally like the basic truck, like the basic like studio 1-bedroom apartment size one, like the cube, basically the cube truck. Was able to get everything in there in one shot. Cool. Off we go. Unpacking was a little bit more of a daunting task, because there's no elevator in this building because it's only a 2-story. So lugging everything up and down. Thankfully, I had my friend with me, so that made it a whole lot easier, because doing that all by myself would have been torture. Because those totes were heavy. My suitcases were heavy. Boxes were somewhat heavy. Some of them were heavy. Some of them weren't so much. Tried to even it out as much as possible. And then, of course, I had my bed frame. I had like my patio set, a bunch of stuff. My TV, all my appliances. Like, Some of the stuff I left, at my friend's house that was going to be driving the U-Haul for me, just so like when we took the U-Haul back, we could literally go get what was left and then they could drive me back here. So everything worked out, got everything moved in a day. Cool, perfect. As perfect as can be. And that's bittersweet for me to say because, as I mentioned earlier, Fudge had passed away. And when I got the call, that was the first thing that I thought of. And like the first night here was, I slept really well, but I didn't get to sleep till late because I was thinking about her. Because one of the last promises I had made to her, because we moved around a lot in the 3-4 years since I left Roy. So I felt so bad for putting her in a carrier because I know she hated carriers. So I, made a promise to her that, the next time you need to be in the carrier will be when we're being housed. And I broke that promise because the next time she was in the carrier was when I took her to the emergency vet on the day she crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And so when I moved in here, I had a lot of mixed feelings. I had a little bit of guilt because I had said, if I would have known in January that I'd be housed now, I would have tried and, kept her from crossing the Rainbow Bridge as best I could. But and it kills me that she's not here with me. Like, it breaks my heart. Every single day I wake up here and I wish she was here. Because I know she would have loved it here. And we would have been able to finally be happy again and on our own again. And I know she would have loved it here. After hiding in the bathroom for the first little bit, like she did pretty much every time we moved. But at the same time, as I said, it's bittersweet because I don't think, I couldn't make her go in the U-Haul with me. It was a basic cube van. So the front truck area, well, it's not the cube van, it was a cube truck. But the front truck area, I wouldn't have been able to keep her there because the friend that was driving is severely allergic to cats. More so than I am. But it would have just stressed her out even more. So while I really wish she was here, I'm glad that, I'm glad that she's, at peace now. But yeah, it's the only thing missing from here is her. But I know she's here in spirit. And she's on my keychain. I have memorial jewelry for her. I have this that I bought just after she passed, and I have a memorial keychain that says my angel has whiskers, and it has a little wing. And it's a little cat figure. And of course, that's the first thing I did was when I got those keys was put it on that keychain. So she is here with me. just not physically. And I've had more than enough people try and tell me, oh, well, it's been long enough. You could get another cat. I'm like, no. I made the decision years ago when she was still here that I wouldn't get another cat. Fudge is my one and only cat that I will have. And I say that because I couldn't put another cat through my life. I'll never forget my cat ever. And I still feel so bad for putting her through all the chaos with me that's been the past 4 or 5 years. And I think in a small way that contributed to her health deteriorating rapidly in January. I mean, other than the fact that she was old. But yeah, that was probably the hardest thing. Like, that was the one downside of, the joy of getting housed. It's not having my cat here with me. But I know she's looking down on me, and I know she's so proud of me. And in another way, I'm kind of glad that she was able to cross the Rainbow Bridge when I was more available, whereas if she were to pass when she got here, trying to find the same kind of resources I had back in January would have been a little bit more difficult, which would have prolonged her pain and suffering a little bit more. A lot more than she deserves, so I miss her every day. I miss her every single day. And I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do, because I want to print off a bunch of photos of her. A few of the photos I took with her, I wish I would have taken more towards the end. I wish I could have taken one more selfie, with her. But I plan on printing off a bunch of them and putting them in some sort of collage frame or something. I plan on doing something with her paw prints. I got her ink paw prints. I wasn't able to get her paw print in a stone or anything, or her ashes, because I couldn't afford to. So I'm going to do what I can to honor her. I miss her every day. Like I said, she's the only thing that's missing. Because I know she'd be so happy here. She'd have my bed to take over again. Last time I was housed, I had a freaking love seat and she had my bed. So she would have had my bed all to herself. And her blankets are on the end of my bed. Like they always have been. Including the blanket that she used to lay on when I was with my now ex-partner and ex-roommate. The one she was laying on the last day. So it took me a couple weeks before I washed it, but it's her favorite blanket, so I'm not getting rid of it. And I took the blanket out of her carrier. That was so hard. So it was literally the last thing she was laying on before she got to the emergency vet. And washing that was hard. And I got rid of her food dishes and her litter box. which was a bit of an adventure by itself because I had left them there in the garbage, thinking that my now ex-partner and ex-roommate would, understand the fact that they're with the garbage, so leave them there. But I guess they had different intentions. And the day I went to move and they told me this, I wasn't in the headspace to argue, because I was just like, I had so much on my brain that day. So, and then once I realized that they had intended on keeping the very things I had thrown out, because throwing those out was part of my healing. It was part of me just, letting it go. Not that I'll ever let her go, but just letting it go, the fact that she's gone. I'll never let her go. Like, she'll always be with me. But that caused a little bit of a rift. And pretty much saw the end of our friendship and any communication, which is fine, between me and my now ex-partner and now ex-roommate. But I was able to, after I moved in, I went back. I think it was like a couple days later, or the next day or something, and grabbed her litter box and food things, just so I could make sure that they get tossed out properly. Just because it was part of my healing journey, and they didn't seem to want to respect that, and it seemed to, in the midst of being so overwhelmed that day, I implied, and I acknowledge I implied, that they could do whatever they wanted with it, when the fact is that late the next day I said, hey, I know I said this, but I really would, rather you just eat it in the garbage. And they didn't seem to like that, so to the point where they told me to lose their contact info. So when I went back, I had let the roommate know that actually owned the place, because that's what you do, and cleared it with them. Went in. They didn't seem to like the fact that I hadn't let my now ex-partner didn't seem to like the fact that I didn't let them know I was coming. Well, you told me to lose your contact info. Yeah, it was just so much unnecessary drama for no reason. But it got dealt with. It got handled. And then I'm going to go into a little bit of it. They proceeded to send me a nice novel of a text afterwards, saying that, oh, next time, you're not welcome back here to get your stuff, blah, 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 next time the police will be called, blah, 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 blah. Our other roommates have been notified. I'm like, so I got a hold of the other roommates. I'm like, okay, guys, here's what happened. I apologized to them already. Am I good to come back if I forget something else? If I happen to forget something, can I come back? And they're like, yeah, sure. Don't worry about it. You don't have to bring the cops, nothing. But of course, and I even said back to the roommates, if they're really concerned about the cop, they really want to call the cops, I'll spare them the phone call and bring the cops with me, because the cops will tell them straight up she's allowed access to her stuff, even though she said she was leaving it behind. She's allowed to come back. She's allowed to retract that. Oh my God, it was just so much unnecessary drama. But it got dealt with. It got handled. So I haven't had to go back. I don't think I forgot anything else. I don't think I did. I think I grabbed everything I meant to. So, yeah. It's been a time. Yeah, it's been a time. But yeah, I moved here, and I've been here 3 months now. July, August, September, October. July, August, September, October. Well, I got here at the end of September, so technically 3 months. Or the end of June, so technically it's the end of September, so 3 months. And it's just been a complete 180 in terms of mental health stability and other stability. I'm housed again. I have my own place. I have my own space. I can just do what I want within reason, of course. There's a lot of other stuff that's happened that I'm not going to go into on this public forum. If you're a follower of mine or a friend of mine on other social medias, you've probably been well briefed on other stuff that's gone on that I'm respecting the people involved to not talk about it here, because this is a little bit more public than my social medias, because I literally have my Facebook set to friends only. So, and I just don't think it's not related to this series, so I'm not going to go into it. It's not related. It's not my business to talk about anyways. I mean, it involves me, but it's not my business. So it's kind of theirs. So I'm not going to go into it. But yeah, the past 3 months has been really, really, really fun, really interesting. I'm still struggling a little bit with the transition. There's a few things that have popped up that really kind of make me almost miss London in some aspects, but not in others. But yeah, so, and I think now that I'm housed and everything, I can actually, take the time to process a lot of stuff that's happened over the past 4 years, including much of what I'm going to be discussing in this series in the future. And that'll allow me to not be so angry or super emotional when I'm talking about things. I'm still going to get emotional. It's me. Like, if you're new to my YouTube channel, hi, I'm emotional as but I think it'll give me an opportunity to be able to have the space to talk about these things and not have to worry about it being as nearly an impact on my life as it was 3 months ago. And plus having the mental capacity and having compartmentalization be a thing again, rather than having it being super overwhelming. So I look forward to that. Speaking of that, I have made an entire list. That's my life story. There's the list. Sorry, I went back and watched my old episodes and kind of made notes on my life story, so I can use that going forward when I communicate with other people. And that's actually giving me ideas for some of the things to cover too, because a lot of the things I went through that I kind of briefly talked about in the first few episodes could probably use some extension, some further explanation. I've also kind of fixed my timeline, so I'll go over that in a future episode. But I'm going to put it out here now so that if you guys have if you guys have watched my previous episodes and want to know anything, please feel free to leave it in the comments, and I will respond to the comments and or mention them in a future video. But I have a whole list of topics that I'm going to cover, and I kind of briefly hinted at them in my previous episodes when I'm like, oh, that gets its own episode. That's going to have its own episode, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of these kind of tie in together, so you're going to have a lot of overlap in some cases when I talk about this stuff. Being able to, this is so nice. Being able to, just sit in my living room and talk to you guys about what's been going on without having to worry about roommates or interrupting roommates or keeping people awake, it's a whole different experience. I'm not used to it yet. I'm going to try and have some fun with this. I know it's a super serious conversation that needs to happen, but I'm going to try and have my same old, self-deprecating humor at times. I'm going to try and have, try and put some positive in it at the same time. I don't want this to be like a giant, rant session all the time. Though I can see that a few of my first episodes were rant sessions, and I acknowledge that. And I also don't, and I'm gonna put this as a disclaimer on every video going forward. I don't wish to bash or undermine or cause destruction of some of the things I'm going to talk about. I don't wish to have people be angry at these things and places and people and etc. I don't want that. I want to try and have as objective a view as thorough and both sides of pros and cons. I'm going to try and do pros and cons with each. I don't wish to tear down anybody individually or organizations or things or just my intent with this series is to offer my lived experience from my own experience and experiences that others have shared with me under the pretense of confidentiality. I will share general examples of things, and I will always state whether it's my own experience or if it's other people's experiences that have shared it with me or that I've witnessed secondhand. I don't wish to have a negative discourse. I don't wish to have a destructive conversation or call for the things and places being shut down because of my experiences or other people's experiences. I just want to be able to say, here's the agency, here's what I've experienced, here's what I've seen, here are my thoughts, here's what I think they could do better, here's what I think they aren't doing better, this is what they should be doing better, this is what they could be doing better, this is why they could be doing this better, this is how doing this better could better serve the people they serve. I don't want this to be like a smear campaign against anybody. As somebody who's had smear campaigns aimed at me for the past 4 or 5 years by several different people and organizations, I'm not going to join that. I just want to have conversations about what some people may not understand or comprehend about why I feel that some of these organizations, some of these people, some of these things are not working as well as they could be. I want to try, and I want it, and I will make this as clear as I can in every episode. I want it made clear that I am saying these things out of constructive criticism, not destructive criticism. And I will try and balance every negative experience with a positive one. Unfortunately, not all the experiences I have had with things and people and such are able to be balanced with positives. I will try my very best to not only highlight the fact that they are doing good work, but also highlight that they're not doing so good work in some aspects and what they can do to do better at that so that more people have less negative outcomes and negative experiences as I and others have had. Anyways, so if you've watched my episodes previously, you probably know a few things that I'm probably going to go into in separate episodes, but I want to leave the conversation open too. So if you hear, or if you don't hear a topic that you want that in my list that you want me to discuss or you want my observations about, please feel free to leave them in the comments. All right, so topics to cover. And again, these all kind of tie in at some point, so you might see a little bit of overlap between things, people, etc. First and foremost, Salvation Army, Center of Hope. And that ties into a few other things as well. such as their private room program. Downsides of sharing lived experience. My experiences with dealing with management and staff. Mostly good, some bad. I'll get into that. What else? Allowing pets in shelters. I have experience with Center of Hope with that. Vetting lists for room and apartment rentals. That is so important, and that will get its own video, but it'll tie into the Salvation Army one too, because you'll see. LNCH housing is going to be a topic. 580 especially, because I have 8 years of experience having lived there. I also have experience living in what used to be a nicer building after transferring from 580. But again, I'll get into that. I have a feeling these are probably going to be hour-long episodes at least. And I might just live stream them, because I've noticed that like when I try and film an episode on one of my other phones and I try and upload it, my internet is like the basic internet. Like we don't have like 150 megs. Like I'm in a rural community. Max is like 50. So uploading a 45-minute to an hour episode takes forever. And I don't feel like killing my phone just to upload it. So I might just do live streams with all these. But anyways, another topic, ANOVA. As you guys know, I left domestic violence in 2021, and I have experience staying in ANOVA. And I have some thoughts on I have some thoughts on my experiences there, and I'll go into all of that in a different episode. Allowing pets in shelters gets its own video, but it also ties into the other ones. Thankfully, my cat was able to come with me to ANOVA, because ANOVA was one of the few shelters that actually accepts pets. So they got that going for them. Acronyms. So I'm going to go into, I might do the acronyms ones first, just to kind of get it out of the way so that it's a reference point for people going forward. Because one thing that a few people have let me know offline. Yeah, by the way, if you guys need to get a hold of me offline, just feel free. I think my email address is somewhere in my YouTube. If not, I think it's it might be in my about. I don't know. I haven't really played around with YouTube lately. So, but if anything, it's my username, which is milishi@gmail.com. So feel free to email me and talk to me there if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment. But yeah, acronyms. I've heard from a lot of people that they don't. I tend to talk like somebody of lived experience, but not recognizing that there's people that are watching that don't have that lived experience or don't have any understanding of what the acronyms that are second nature to me actually mean. So I'll probably go into some of the acronyms. Finding a room to rent as a couple and or with pets. Yeah, that's going to be its own episode, because that ties into a lot of things, and that might have some overlap with some other topics as well, including Ontario Works, about barriers in terms of housing. Yeah, that pretty much rates itself for anybody that knows, but I will go into it as somebody who has lived experience. System navigation, especially for people who are nonverbal and or don't know how to articulate needs to or ask for help. That by itself is going to be its own video, and it's going to be a deep dive, and it's going to be based on my experience with my now ex-partner who had some struggles with that. And I'm also going to go into system navigation for those that like can articulate their thoughts and just still not getting far. But like I said, that'll be in that video. High acuity versus low acuity, and that's going to be its own video. Because what City of London terms as and triages as high acuity versus low acuity isn't actually representative of what are high acuity and low acuity people, because they tend to loop addicts, criminally involved people and people struggling with substance use disorders and unhoused into high acuity, whereas there are many what should be high acuity people that aren't addicts, that aren't criminally involved, but they are left to fall further through the cracks, which leads them to turning to substance use to cope, which turns them into high acuity. So they're literally being prolonged in suffering as low acuity by the city's terms when they could be getting helped just as much as people that are involved with substance use and involved with the law. So that'll get its own video. The importance of not associating with agencies or allowing them to influence you. As somebody of lived experience, I've learned that firsthand. If you are remotely connected to an agency, or your name is known to an agent to be associated with an agency, you get looked at differently, as opposed to being a completely independent person of lived experience voice. And sometimes that leads to agencies, not liking what you have to say. Because you're not really tethered to any agency, so you don't really have to watch what you say to, about anything, which really you shouldn't have to watch what you say if you're lived experience. You shouldn't have to, cater your lived experience to an agency, but that'll get its own video. Building working relationships independently with decision makers at all levels, which means municipally, provincially, federally, these agencies that you don't see eye to eye with. And I will offer my lived experience with how difficult that is and how messy of a road that is, in some cases. Going into how processes actually work, educating oneself. So if I didn't have the lived experience I have, I would probably feel a lot of the ways that some people on the outside looking in would probably feel, who don't have the exposure or don't have the unfortunate circumstance of having lived experience and just see things from the outside, or see things and just assume without actually looking into how things actually work as to why things are the way they are. How social service agencies help and harm the homelessness and addictions crisis. So yeah, that's going to be a major one, and that's going to be a lot of overlap with a lot of the different agencies that I've already mentioned. Like I said, I'm going to try and say and speak on how they're trying to help, but how some of the things that they're doing are actually doing more harm than good in terms of addressing the crises. High barrier versus low barrier in terms of shelters. Having lived through both in 20 years, having lived through both types of shelters, I've seen how they both work and how they both can do better. So that'll be its own video. This will be a really controversial one, I'm sure. But harm reduction policies and the lack of abstinence involved in them. That'll get its own video. Because, like it or not, abstinence is a pillar of harm reduction, but in my opinion, it seems to be on the lesser important part of harm reduction than others, and I will go into that in a different video. Lack of abstinence, peace, and policies. Preference for enabling drug use. Yes, that's how I feel, and I'll go into why I feel that way and why these agencies seem to think it's working and helping, when in reality, there needs to be some work done to bring back abstinence into the thing and how it can actually work without going overboard. Decentralizing and de-siloing services. We have seen that in downtown core in London. Everything is downtown and or in Old East Village. It's not located anywhere else, so you're literally siloing people in one area, which is good and bad. Sure, it's good to have everything in a central location, but it's also bad because you're forcing people that may not want to be around each other for safety reasons or other reasons to be around said people just to get the help they need. I will go into that, the pros and cons. Domestic violence justice system navigation. That'll be its own video because it's going to be a doozy. Because when people say they believe victims, trust me, they don't. Nor is the justice system set up to actually help victims. It's actually set up to help the perpetrators and cater to the perpetrators more so than not. OSAP and lack of credit, difficulties finding housing, etc. Lived experience there. I'll go into that. COHB program, which apparently is coming to an end in a couple years anyways, allegedly. Pros and cons. So while it can help you pay rent, it also puts you in a higher tax bracket come tax time, which is detrimental to many that are, just scraping by. And it also has some cons if you're on the wait list for geared to income housing, because the minute you're accepted for COHB, you're knocked off the wait list for geared to income housing, which yes and no, I can see why, but it's problematic. Again, going back to domestic violence justice system navigation, lack of supports and housing for DV victims. Yep. I have plenty of experience with that, and that ties into high acuity / low acuity and a lot of other things. Because it seems after 3 months of, if you were a domestic violence victim more than 6 months ago, and you try to apply for urgent status for housing, they don't seem to care that it may have been 6 plus months ago, but you're still a domestic violence victim. Until you're stabilized and are able to get the help you need, you are still a victim. And classifying somebody as, oh, you need to be within 3 months of leaving the domestic violence and you need proof that you used to live with your abuser, blah, 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 blah. You shouldn't need to prove that. You should be able to say, hey, I'm trying here. I need urgent status because I'm not living with the person anymore. I've lived with the person in over a year. I'm still a domestic violence victim because I still need housing and I still need urgent status. So like I said, that'll tie into a few other things. Rights when it comes to housing, room rentals, and the fact that people that rent rooms have zero rights. I'll go into that because that will pretty much tell you that a lot of these agencies that are giving out room rental lists are not helping anything, because they're just putting somebody into a more vulnerable position than they were already. And when it comes to domestic violence victims, oh boy. And that'll tie into my ANOVA experience, so just a heads up. Vetting room rental, apartment rental lists by agencies, that needs to happen. And I'll go into that, but basically, if you're expecting somebody that's already vulnerable to be calling around and talking to random strangers and giving random strangers their phone number just to have them get scammed or exploited in some way just to get housed, like you agencies should be the ones vetting these. You should not be putting that responsibility on your clients. You're there to help your clients, not leave them in more vulnerable situations they're already in. I will say that a lot in the next. Private room programs at shelters. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about my domestic violence experience, and that'll tie into a lot of things. And the downsides of sharing your lived experience. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to get people, hate commenting me because I'm sharing some of the not so nice opinions and views and perspectives and experiences with these agencies. But it needs to be talked about. It can't be shoved under the carpet or dismissed as, oh, it's a rare occasion. No, it's not. Actually, if you want truly to change things, you need to look at the good and the bad. And in order to do that, you need to be accepting of the criticism, not dismissing it like it's nothing. And on kind of a side one, crisis center policies at CMHA. Not sure if this has changed yet, but there are policies in terms of couples or friends can't stay at the same time or interact. Pros and cons. I can see why it's there. but I can also see why that's problematic. So yeah, we are just passing an hour. Cool. Okay. So as for when I plan on doing this, I usually live stream wrestling Mondays and Fridays. Though last night I kind of live streamed but fell asleep and then I deleted the live stream. But Friday I plan to live stream wrestling, but I will be live streaming this series. I'm gonna be really busy starting next week, so I want to say Wednesdays I'll start doing it. Yeah, because it's literally in the middle of the week, so I think I'll try and do Wednesdays. So I'm gonna try and put that on a schedule, live stream schedule. Yeah, so this is so nice being able to do this, being able to like just freely talk and not have to worry about like interrupting people or like, waking people up or, that or the other. But yeah, that's where things are at. So stay tuned. Again, if you have any questions, either leave them in the comments or reach out to me by email, melissa@gmail.com. There's no such thing as a stupid question. I accept all feedback, good, bad, indifferent. If there's a topic that I haven't talked about or that I kind of hinted at that you really want to know more about that, I may not be able to cover in a whole video, I will try and do my best to address it in a future video. But with that, I'm off. Love y'all. Be safe. And as of an hour from now, happy October.